So, good afternoon. I am trying something a little bit different today since I'm not here with you on Friday. I am going to record myself a bit and hopefully you'll be able to see this on YouTube. Anyway, so you should have finished chapter 2 in Gary Paulson's book Hatchet. Hopefully you discussed that a little bit and you spent some time and completed the chapter 2 vocabulary section that I've given you in your packets, and Mr. Carver should have been able to answer any questions you might have had. I don't think that was too difficult really, and hopefully you will have completed all of the questions for chapter 1 as well. Those were due Thursday. So I'm hoping that you have time to listen to me read. I'm going to read a bit from Variant. It's been a while since I've read. Hopefully you remember what's going on. Feel free to put the poster that I have all of the gang titles and all of the people that are in the gangs on the board, and feel free to add any new characters to that you'd like. It's been a long time since we've read, and I'm just going to pick up right where I left off, and hopefully you will recognize the setting and what's going on. The engine was getting close, and I thought I heard a second, or were there 3? I stared, silent and desperate. 50 yards to my left, a fat raccoon sat on the wall, nervously eyeing me in the twilight. How did you get up there? Turning my attention to the trees, I looked for one that I could climb. Maybe I could get over that way. But someone had planned for that. Between the wall and the nearest trees was a 15-foot gap where the vegetation and rocks had been cleared away, leaving only barren dirt. The narrow tire tracks of the four-wheelers were rutted into the earth. There had to be some way. I climbed up into the closest pine, slowly grappling with the sticky, sap-speckled limbs. It was difficult in the low light, but in a few minutes I got high enough to see over the wall. There was nothing on the other side but more trees. I could hear the engine below me now, not just the engine, but the rough sound of tires crunching over rocks and dry sticks. I didn't waste time looking for it. I climbed higher, almost 30 feet in the air now. There was no way I could jump. Even if I miraculously made it over the wall, I'd have broken legs or ankles, and there was still a chain link fence somewhere on the other side. The engine suddenly quieted, dropping down into a low, rumbling idle. "Benson!" The voice was harsh and angry. I didn't recognize it. I slipped, catching myself, but feeling the tree sway. It took me a second to realize that could help me. I shifted my weight back and forth. The pine moved under me. Looking down, I wish that I'd chosen one with a narrower trunk, one that might be more flexible, but it was too late for that. I could already hear another voice on the forest floor below me. The tree swung a few feet toward the wall and then back away. With each movement, I threw my weight into the swing, and soon the tree was shaking back and forth, creaking and rocking. I was working too fast to have a good plan. Would it bend over the wall and let me jump? What if all the bending made it snap and fall? If it landed against the wall, I could climb it like a ladder if I managed to hold on. Either way, I was facing a fall. The voices were shouting now. "Benson, get down here. You'll get detention. You're breaking the rules." I ignored them. The creaking got louder, and each slow swing seemed to strain the strength of the wood. It was too late to give up. I was already in the tree, already trying to jump the wall. If I went back down, I'd get detention, whatever that was. I had to keep going. As I swung toward the wall, I searched for something to break my fall, but the other side of the wall looked like this side, 15 feet of bare dirt and rocks. I had to jump. The society was already below me. I'd already broken the rule. When the pine swung close to the wall, my fingers gripped the branch tighter as if my own body were unconsciously refusing to take such a suicidal leap. I suddenly realized there was something in the forest on the other side. Smoke. The tree swung back and I put my weight into it. It couldn't be fog over there. It was too dry and too windy, but the dark haze hung over the forest, low in the trees. I couldn't see where it was coming from. An air horn blared beneath me. They were calling for help. The tree swung toward the wall and then back away. I braced myself for the jump. Next time. I could feel the momentum shift under my feet as the tree reached its farthest point, slowed, and began swaying back again. My gaze was glued on the dirt below. The far side of the wall. It looked rocky and hard. I'd have to land just right. I can't lock my knees. Roll with the impact. I might just snap. I heard a sharp pop like the sound of a gunshot. The branch below me had broken. I was falling. I desperately snatched at limbs and branches, and it was too late. I tumbled down through the boughs of the pine, bouncing off branch after branch until I collapsed painfully to the earth. I landed on my knees and then fell forward onto my face. I panted for breath, pain shooting in my legs as I tried to lift myself up. A foot hit my back, slamming me back down. Trying to cross the wall is a detention-worthy offense, a male voice said. I tried to roll over, but he kept his foot in place. I didn't have the energy or breath to fight back. Get his hands, a girl ordered, and I felt someone grab my wrists. I shook them loose, and then pain burst through my side. A kick to the ribs. I rolled onto my left. There were 3 of them, all in their gym clothes, 2 boys and a girl. I didn't know the boys, but the girl was Laura, my so-called teacher. Hello, Benson, she said, seeing the recognition in my eyes. She held a black stick. Maybe it was metal, about 2 feet long. No one is allowed to cross the wall. You were told this during new student orientation. I couldn't bring myself to say anything. I hurt all over, and it felt like I was breathing through heavy cloth. I couldn't get enough air. Now please give your hands to Dylan so that he can bind them, Laura said sternly, as though she were reciting directly from the rule book. You will be taken to the school for detention. Dylan tried to take my hands, but I fought him, and after a moment he backed up. I saw him draw something from his belt, but he was obscuring it with his hand. Pepper spray? Resisting security, Laura continued, her face red and wild, is also punishable. What is wrong with you people? I said, fighting for air to speak. We follow the rules, Benson, Laura said. Don't you want to get out of here? I gasped. Us 4 could knock down a tree and be gone. That is not true, she said. Now, Dylan. Dylan took another step forward, and this time the other boy stepped around behind me. Dylan raised the canister in his hand. Another voice rang out, Stop! Dylan's head shot up. He was trying to escape, Laura declared indignantly. I rolled over again, rocks cutting into my sides. 5 others were standing in the woods. Curtis, Mason, Jane, Lily, and Carrie. He wasn't trying to escape, Curtis said. He was going for a jog to try to keep warm. His face was dirty and red and tired, and he was panting heavily. Dylan let out a loud, mocking snort, and Laura spoke. He tried to jump from this tree. He was trying to get over the wall. Curtis motioned for Mason, who hurried over to me and helped me up. Dylan and the other society boys seemed unsure of what to do. They wanted to fight, I was sure of that, but they were outnumbered. Benson was jogging, Curtis repeated. He was going to meet me out here, Jane said. We'd arranged it, and he was in the tree watching for me. I put my arm around Mason's shoulder and hobbled slowly back to where the V's stood. The fact is, Curtis said, that's what we're going to say when we appeal the detention. And you know the rule book, Laura. What's the punishment for making a false accusation? He was trying to escape, Laura said. Her voice was shrill and furious. Everyone here knows that. Curtis walked toward Laura and lowered his voice so quietly I could barely hear him. And everyone here also knows what detention means. Do you really want that? Laura's eyes looked black in the dim light. She was clutching the metal baton tightly with both hands. If we let him break the rules, then everyone here is in danger. Do you want to go back to the way things were before the truce? So you'll keep him and you'll kill him to keep the peace? Curtis asked. He turned and walked back toward the V's. Laura was still fuming, but there was nothing that she could do. There were 3 of them and 6 of us. Even with the pepper spray and baton, the odds were on our side. We hiked in silence for several minutes, picking our way through the unseen forest floor in the quietly dimming light. I hurt all over, but I tried not to let it show. Curtis moved next to me, keeping his gaze straight ahead, watching the forest. He whispered, "That's the last time. Don't do something stupid like that again." I didn't reply. I knew things now. I knew how society's security guards were armed, and I knew how fast they could respond. The next escape would work.